Hey everybody, welcome to the Backyardigans We've Seen It All podcast. I'm your host, Kit Goolsby.
And I'm your other host, Tiffany Franklin.
And today we're going to be talking about some of our first times and some backyard incidents. Now, a little quick behind the scenes on the story of how we came up with the name for the Backyardigans podcast. Tiffany was telling me a story about she had to call the cops on her neighbors who were in her backyard, and we were like, that's so funny. Why don't we make something out of the backyard? And what did we think of? What was the first thing that came to our mind?
Backyardigans.
The Backyardigans. It was something we both watched as kids and loved, and it was so pure and innocent. And we thought with the stories that we're telling today, it's the exact opposite, baby.
Exactly.
All right, so I don't know about you. I rarely get in trouble with authority figures. I did get in trouble one time. I want to say I was in 8th grade or freshman year of high school, so 13, 14 years old.
Okay.
And there are train tracks by my house. Kids, we wanted to go up on the train tracks and be cool, and not even probably midnight. It was the 4th of July, and we were setting off fireworks on the street on the side of the train track. And someone must have called the cops on us because the next thing we knew, we were in front of a cop, and he was very intimidating, and he was taking down all of our names and phone numbers and our parents' names and phone numbers, and I was like, this is it. I'm going to jail. I will spend the rest of my life as a delinquent.
I mean, that definitely sounds like you. I can see you doing that. Fireworks. That's a unique story. So, well, yeah, that was a really good story. Well, mine, I don't know, mine is like kind of exciting. Not really. I called the cops, for my first time when I was 9 or 10. My grandma was living with us at the time, and it must have been on spring break or something. And my mom wasn't home, so she was at work. My grandma's in her room, and I'm in my mom's room watching TV, and I just hear we have chains on our gate into the backyard, and I hear that clinking together, and I was like, what is that? So I'm looking out my mom's window because you can see from the driveway, so I can see the gate. I didn't see anyone, but I have a window to the backyard, and I see two guys, and I'm like, so I am instantly into fight or flight mode. I get down real low, and I'm like sweating, I'm nervous, and I'm like, okay, what do I do? So I run to my grandma's room. I was like, Grandma, shh. She's like, what, honey? And I'm like,
Grandma doesn't have a care in the world.
No. So I'm like, Grandma, there's somebody in the backyard. I was like, we need to call 911. And she's like, well, let me just see who's in the backyard. That might be my grandson or something. I'm like, Grandma, no one's supposed to be here. She's supposed to be us. So she's like reaching for the window, and I feel bad now, but I didn't know what else to do to stop her. So I like swat her hand. It was like she's like looking at me like appalled, and I was like, Grandma, like I told you, we gotta lay low. So I run into the other room, I grab the house phone, and I'm just like, oh my God, like, okay, what's the number, So I was like, oh, duh, 911. So I dialed 911.
What's the number?
What's the number? Literally, like, you see that on TV? No, that is real. Nothing is going on in your brain. It is completely empty.
Quick, how do you call 911?
Literally, that was me. So I call 911, I tell them the situation, and I give them the address. Fast forward, I'm waiting, the guys are still there. I hear the police knocking on the door. I peek out the window, and a lot of windows in this house. Peek out the window, and I see 3 cops out there. I'm like, oh my gosh, like they're here. They're knocking like, hey, we're here, let us in. And no matter what situation I'm in, good or bad or heightened, whatever, I always have my mom's voice in the back of my head. I always hear her rules, and I just remember she told me as a kid, and I still don't as an adult, never open the door for anyone you don't know. Yeah. So they're knocking on the door, and I'm just yelling from the window, I'm sorry, I can't let you in. My mama's not home. She said not to let anybody in. And they're looking like, what? She's serious? They're like, no, like, look, they're trying to show me their badge. Like, no, we're police. Like, we're real. And I was, sorry, Mama said I can't let you in if she's not home. So I leave the police out there. And I guess at some point between the police, before they got there and me waiting on them, the guys end up leaving. Because the police searched around the perimeter, right? No one's back there. My mom, I obviously called my mom at some point too, when she races home. and she were sitting down talking to police officers, and they kind of came to the conclusion that they were obviously in the neighborhood, but they were just some young kids just trying to like maybe smoke or something, just find like a little spot. It was funny. That's just a memory that I always remember because I was literally 9 or 10 in the situation that could have gone either way. But I love the story so much because I felt like I was trying to protect my grandma. So
you were the adult in that situation for sure.
Literally the adult.
And I love that stranger danger can still come in handy today.
But yeah, that's it. That was a good first for me.
I have some pretty interesting, I don't know if I call it interesting, bizarre backyard stories.
Uh-oh.
So I had these neighbors growing up. They just moved onto the street.
Okay.
And there were a ton of these.
Okay.
There were so many of them.
How old were you at this point?
I was probably around your age, 8 or 9.
10. Okay.
Yeah. And they had some younger children who wanted to hang out with us constantly. They were homeschooled. So we were like, yeah, of course. Like, you've got the time, come on over, we'll make grilled cheese or whatever, have a time out of it. We stopped hanging out with them because we got kind of weird vibes. Not really vibing with these people anymore.
Yeah,
so
not feeling it.
Me and my sister just kind of stopped hanging out with those kids. And then one day, the youngest one, who's like probably 6 or 7, is just wandering around our backyard and then comes up to our back door and taps on it and knocks on the glass and goes, "Can anyone play?" And we're just like, "What are you doing here? Where are your parents?"
Literally, where are your parents?
That was the first time. Literally, not even 2 days later, I remember they had sent us a plate of cookies as like an apology for their daughter who was trespassing our backyard. They handed us the plate of cookies. And we looked down, said thank you, shut the door, and went, "Oh my God," because the entire plate was just filled with ants.
Ew.
And I was like, "Do you not see that there are about 1,000 ants on this plate right now? That is not something that you give a neighbor to be neighborly."
Do you think they might have mistook it for chocolate chips?
That is like the biggest like laugh track. "Oh, a chocolate chip. Oh, that's not a chocolate chip."
Right.
It was strange. But I want to run back real quick to the cops. Have you ever had any other experiences with the police? Have you ever had to call 911 again?
No, not call 911. They were actually called on me.
Oh.
I was in high school and there was a Kmart by my house. I was best friends with this girl. He decided to go to, Kmart. This was when I was in my rebel and I don't want to listen to the rules. Like, I just want to do everything. So we go to Kmart. I don't know why it was such a thing to just, like, go to stores and walk around.
Oh, it was such a thing to go to Meijer and walk around at 1 a.m. and with a baguette.
And Walmart. Well, I don't know why we did that, but we did it. So we're walking around Kmart and we're like, "Oh my God, let's just go try on some bras." So we went into the fitting room, we tried on bras, and we had a bunch of them. Like, Scout's honor, we did not steal anything.
Ooh.
Okay? We did not steal anything. So when we were leaving and he's like following us, I was like, okay, like, it's kind of weird. We're outside Kmart and the guy's like, hey, you young ladies, come back over here. And we're like, well, I'm sorry, like, do you know us? Empty your pockets. And we're like, for what? Yeah, they called me and they radioed me and said that, some girls are in the fitting room and they don't have any bras in there or whatever. Like, the bras are gone. Like, we know you have them on you. Like, empty your pockets. So my friend was more rebellious than I was, and she's like cursing at him or whatever. And no, I don't have anything. And he's like, well, I might have to strip search you and everything. And
oh my God, how old were you?
Well, this was high school, so how old are you when you're like a sophomore?
Like 16?
16, yeah. So probably for me, I was 15 because I always had a late birthday. And I was like, "Sir, I don't know much about the law, but I know you can't do that without parents' permission,
Exactly.
type of thing." So he like looks at me, and we like look at him, and he's like, "All right, get the F out of here," and. He's like, "Never come back again." Yeah, so we left. But, I mean, we truly didn't steal anything. I mean, I can understand because we were kind of, like, walking around, looking a little suspicious. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to have that flipped on you when you actually didn't do anything.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I can't say the same. So, you know the book fair?
Yeah. I love the book fair. Are you kidding? I didn't even buy books.
I didn't either.
I bought everything else other than books.
I would just like, the little scented markers.
Oh,
Or like the little fun erasers that you get to take apart.
Yeah.
The only thing I couldn't get were books, which was fine with me because I was not a reader.
Yeah, I'm still not. Yeah.
We came in with an intention of what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And our stories and everything like that. With our vibes, we hit one tangent off of the other. When one person says one thing, we're like, oh, that makes me think of this. And that, makes me think of that. There is no clear, concise script for this.
No, none whatsoever. It's like ping pong.
I kind of love it.
Like, we're like ping ponging it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I kind of love it because there's a lot less stress to it.
Yeah.
A lot less stress and a lot less structure that makes you feel like you have to do it a certain way.
Yeah. And I felt like this was a good choice. We were able to share this and, first times and whatnot. And I mean, Backyardigans is such a sick name. So
I love that. We named the podcast Backyardigans because these stories happened when we were a lot younger. We ran into the law or had to call the police or whatever it may be. Whatever experiences we had in our neighborhood. We're all grown up now.
Yeah.
I'm 23.
24. It's just, yeah. I love a good reminiscing story, to be honest.
I love nostalgia.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can just feel our genuine connection
when
they hear us talk.
Of course.
And I think that's one of the most important things when we're studying things like new media.
I mean, I think that's why it works so well with us. Not only are we around the same age, but like we've gone through some stuff. I mean, we've gone through life. So I think it's really important to connect, dive in a little bit deeper.
I love you too. I love leaving on a sentimental note.
We love it.
This work is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. All characters and titles are licensed under fair use for parody or educational purposes. Quick thank you to CLICKBAIT for the royalty-free sound effects and music. This has been the Backyardigans We've Seen It All podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Kit Goolsby.
And I am Tiffany Franklin. Thanks so much for listening to us. We might be back. I don't know.
We've got the whole wide world to explore. We're going to find things we've never seen before. That's why every day, you guys, the viewers, will be back for more with your friends, Kit and Tiff, the Backyardigans.